up, everybody, and welcome to the Paintball Lounge. And we actually have Joe Barrett. He's going to be showing up soon, but we just starting to get on so we can do some shout outs. Shout out to everybody who supports the channel, as well as this, who, if you join our Patreon account, it also helps me out with financially about this whole podcast and everything. So if you want to support us on the podcast, please go to our Patreon account. But shout out to all of our sponsors, uh, the photographies, the LAX, Gorilla, uh, Republic, NOLA, all of them. Y'all don't know how much it means to me personally that y'all have put knowing that I'm doing the best I can and y'all support me as well as this podcast and keeping this going every single day. Um, so I want to say, take this time to thank you and please, like I said, join the Patreon account on the Paintball Lounge. Is Another thing is that sooner or later we're gonna have the wall decoration right here of the belt of this bad boy, the belt, so that way, you know, y'all can see the belt and knowing that it's still here, still alive, um, as well as yeah. So we're just waiting for Joe Barron, who is also from San Diego Dynasty, who used to play for Infamous, as well as he's the owner and creator of Passport. So we're going to talk about all this. It's going to be a great episode of it. So we're just waiting for him to get on here, and we're going to have loads of fun. And this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a fun episode. This is going to be, it's going to be loads of fun. So we're just going to wait for him to get on here, and then, you know, speak of the man. What's up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on?
Good. How about you?
Oh, dude, life is great. I'm just finishing up a work day. My company is running like kind of a new product sale, so yeah, just been out there hustling, making
Keep on
sales.
grinding every day. Keep on grinding.
Yes, sir. Hey, one second. I'm just adjusting my microphone. Can you hear me fine?
Oh yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Let me see. What about now?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Does it sound better, sharper?
A little bit sharper, yes. It sounds really, really good. But
Cool.
but let's get started. I mean, welcome to the show, Joe Barrett, who is from San Diego Dynasty. I gotta say, welcome to the Dragons because you used to play for Infamous, and that's where you started. Like you were like mostly like hard on Infamous. So what
Um,
happened? Like what the transition from the Skull to now the Dragon?
yeah, it's not my first time changing teams. I started playing pro on Damage. I've played on DMG, Aftermath, and then Infamous for 2 years. Um, you know, Throughout paintball in your career, sometimes things work out great. Other times they not necessarily don't work out great, but people just go in different directions. And, they had told me that they kind of wanted to go a different direction. And, we parted ways cordially, no worries. I went into free agency for about a week, and I had a bunch of different offers and things to really contemplate and decide on. Some of them would have been really like life changing.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart was saying, reach out to the team that you just want to play for. Like, don't think about money or anything else. Just like, who would you like to play for, and who are the guys you want to play with? And a few of my like mentors and people I really look up to and respect said, you should call Dynasty. Like, you're at that point, and they could use a guy of your skill set, and they're going to decide soon. So you should throw your hat in that ring. And that was basically how I came to be on Dynasty.
Dang. And so how it all started, like the beginning of your career. When did it all started?
Oh man. So 2000, I was 10 years old. Was the first time I like, picked up a paintball gun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in 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 that era, I felt like everybody's dad was always like, "All right, we're gonna bring you to the woods, and you're gonna play a little bit of paintball with like some crappy plastic blade pump or a tipman or something. And that was kind of like your uh, becoming a man ceremony. It's like, hey, we're gonna play war games. No more hide and go seek with your little buddies. Um, so my dad brought me out, and I started playing, and the bug bit. And by the end of that year, I was already playing at an indoor field in Buffalo called Tsunami. And only another few months, I was on the Tsunami Force Kids team, and just went all the way in like very fast at that field. I was picking up like PB2X magazines and reading stories about pro players and guys traveling the world to play paintball. And I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 years old, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. That is, I'm decided. This is what I'm going to go all in. I'll spend every dollar I make and every second of time, and I'll chase it. And yeah, that was really how it started.
So, and it's always when we're starting kids, like we're all that's like you know like did you play like football or something like that, or was it just straight up paintball?
No, I my parents tried to get me into every sport, not like forcingly, but just trying to see what I would gravitate towards. So,
Mm-hmm.
I started off with a lot of soccer. I played travel soccer leagues all the way up till I was like 16, still with paintball. Played a little bit of football, and I liked extreme sports more. I was like skateboarding by the time I was like 5, and snowboarding at Kissing Bridge in New York by the time I was like 7, and always involved with like ski clubs at middle school, high school, college. So got really into snowboarding to the point that I'm, still now if I hop on a board, I can hit pretty much any rail or jump in the park. But I remember being at the crossroads and being like trying to do both. And to get better at snowboarding means trying big things and falling hard. And you knock the wind out of yourself enough times, you're like, man, am I going to go pro here and like be in the X Games or Olympics? And then I was seeing that I was like getting equally as good in paintball. And I was just like, I think that's the easier path. Not that I want to choose easy, but I'm like, if I'm going to go pro in something, that one's probably not going to kill me. And I love it. And it's more team oriented and puts me around my friends more often. So I don't know. What about you? Did you play sports other than paintball?
Uh, Actually, I played a little bit of baseball, um, and that just did not work out for me. And the funny thing is this: is that I started playing paintball when I was in high school, and it was a birthday party, my birthday, and then I was like, you know what, this is what I like to do every single time, and now it blossomed. It blossomed to this. But
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh, okay. So you started playing what, like 10 years ago then? Maybe a little more?
A little bit more. I think about 12. I think I was 15 years old. So maybe like 12 or around that time. I mean,
Cool.
yeah. It's I can't even think about it. Like it's just like time goes by so fast and I'm like, God, how long I've been doing this? I keep on forgetting myself. I can't remind myself that every single year that I am getting old. I'm getting old and I'm still playing this sport. What the hell is wrong with me? It's like a
Yeah, I'm 34, so you're not that old. And honestly, age is just a number. You're only as old as you feel. And I feel like I've not felt any older since 22. So
oh, you're
eat
still going
healthy
strong.
and yeah, keep yourself young by doing stuff that you love. If you're having fun every day, you kind of like stay a kid.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So the fact that you're now with Dynasty, like, do you like how did it change you? Like, it's like because I know now y'all took my coach, Mike Bianca, who is, shout out to your coach. Even though he's not the coach for the Hurricanes no more, I still consider him as one of my, one of my friends. How does it feel now you have Mike Bianca and his philosophy and everything, the process that he calls it. And I'm like, every time he says the process, I want to take a shot of whiskey. Like, but
Um, yeah, well, first of all, shout out to Bianca. I figured you might want to talk about him for a bit. He is the man. Like, I already had a lot of respect for him from what he did bring the Hurricanes in as such a team finding bits of success so early, even in that first year of theirs. and making it all the way to a finals. It's impressive because there's teams in the league that have been in forever that have not made finals or even struggle to make Sundays, right?
Right.
And then from the limited talks I'd had with him over the last like 3 or 4 seasons, just at events, anytime I was next to him, I'm like, man, this guy's smart and he's easy to talk to,
Hmm.
very philosophical, very stoic. That's my kind of guy. And on top of that, we had been up in the webcast a few different times together, and we both seem to speak of the game in a similar tongue. So I'm like, all right, I already know, this is a bird that's similar to my feather, right? But after getting to be around him only for a weekend and having a few good long phone calls with him, um, man, that's just such a great human being. He's so like passionate and committed to his craft and committed to making better young men out of the guys that are around him. So I just have nothing but respect for the guy, and I like him more every time I talk to him.
Yeah, he and the way he brings to the community of paintball is just like phenomenal. Like, if I have to go, like, if there was awards for greatest of all time, like, I think he would be in that category of just a play, not just a player, but just a person in general in the community, because
Hmm.
like I said, his philosophy and the way how he brings to the team, and he could be that serious guy, but the next man later he can be that goofy person, and you're like, is this really the guy my coach? Like, this is really, like, seriously, this is pretty awesome. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not a pro team. I wish I was. I really do. But if it was on a pro team, I hope that my coach was Mike Bianca. Like, straight,
hmm,
like, sh- straight up.
yeah. Well, let me ask you, because I didn't know you before you reached out, and so we've never chatted before. Um, like I don't even know your team history or who you play for and currently, but has he coached you directly or done anything specifically for you in your career?
Actually, he actually has. So Mike Bianca, when he came to the Hurricanes, he was my first person to like interview, like as a Hurricane, because I didn't have a lot of people who when I started this podcast. There was not a lot of opportunities because in Louisiana we only got the Hurricanes, so all we have is like local players. So and I've been watching how Mike Bianca's been working, and there was a couple of times where I actually you know got on the field while he was still on the Hurricanes, and I played against the Hurricanes. Like, I think it was like a drill or like something like that, and his philosophy is just like I said, it's just phenomenal, and he's such a sweet guy, such a sweet guy, and
Yeah.
major respect.
Totally. Yeah, he's a great person to ask questions to, and he's one of those very open, generous people. So I feel like anybody could reach out to him through social media, and he'll take the time to answer them.
Hmm.
But what I like about Mike is you don't really have to ask questions to learn from that guy. Just being around him and seeing like how he runs a pit or coaches another team. Like I loved standing outside of a Hurricanes pit and just like seeing whether they won or they lost and just watching how he'd react. And not just like the plays he would call, but like the demeanor, like what he did to, change the energy of the pit or like keep it even keel, right? So I learned a lot without even asking anything, just by observe the teacher.
Exactly, and that's what you don't like. You just have to observe him, like, and he's always low. Like, I never seen him like throw a clipboard. He's always
Mm.
so cool, and you know he never overreacts. And I was like, you're gonna laugh at me for this. So y'all, when you were with Infamous and y'all were first in the Hurricanes, and it was like that 1v1, and how y'all keep on being at each other's necks, I was thinking to myself, Mike Bianca's gonna throw the clipboard. He's gonna turn red. He's gonna turn red. But he never did. He never did.
Never
And
does.
I'm like, how? This guy way. Like I would turn red. And I turn red all the time when I'm watching every single team that I want to win or wants to see you to win. I turn red. I'm a Sean Payton. Like I turn red every single time, right? And something doesn't go your way. But now him, and I was just like what the hell?
Yeah, stoic, right? He never lets you see him sweat because there's the lesson there, right? Like if the leader is starting to lose their cool or freak out in the middle of a match, then all the other players are gonna lose their composure because it's like, oh shit, our leader is freaking out. Maybe we should be freaking out. And also, that's taking away the time from like, just scratching it and going, hey guys, here's what we're gonna do next. Instead, you're wasting that maybe only minute 30 seconds between points talking about old shit. So he understands the importance of never doing that, and you can see he's a true professional.
Of course, 100%. And so, knowing that you're now on a dynasty, what is your going to be your strongest position? Because you got Ryan Greenspan, Blake, who else? Shoot, I can't remember the other players, but I know those two.
Josh Rao,
Yeah,
Alex
yo,
Frage,
Shay.
Harrison Fry,
Yeah,
Danny Schonauer,
so where
Arturo Andrade.
Yeah, so where you're going to be mostly playing at for the rest of 2025 season, like because you know, what do you think is going to be more of your strong suit?
Yeah, I've got to have a few really good talks with teammates as well as like leaders of the team. Um, and I think I have a lot of versatile skill sets that can kind of be plugged and played. I've pretty much played every spot on pro teams other than a Snakeside one. Um, but you got to not just use your strong suits, you got to use them and plug them in where your team needs them most, right? It's like, well,
Right.
what do they need right now? So, like, I can play completely fine as a Dorito front player. I
Mm-hmm.
can play uh, very competently as a center attacker. But, Dynasty lost three guys, and two of them were role players, Archie and Marcelo. So, right there, you're like, all right, there's a shortage in role players. And probably my strongest ability is in gun skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, there's plenty of other stuff that I really need to work on. And it's not like I don't still draw all the time in gun skills, but if there was like a big advantage that if you were looking at like a stats thing on a video game and it's bars out of 10 and
Yeah.
stuff like that, my gun skill bar is always very very high. That's not something teams ever tell me like, hey, this is something you got to work on. um, so I'll probably get plugged into a two spot, um, on a side that has more zones and lanes because that's what I specialize in. Like when you have to win gun dominance and hold gaps or hold up the other team's attackers, um, that's what I've always been very, very good at. So I think that's where they'll probably use me, and that's where I want to be used.
Hey, I mean, that's perfect. Like you said, wherever the team needs you, go for it. You know,
Hmm.
and, but I feel like with you playing for Infamous and everything, I think you are a great player. I think you are a strong player, and I think that Ryan Greenspan and all the other guys will are happy to have you on there. When I saw the move, I was like, yeah, Dynasty just this is gonna be a new Dynasty. This is not gonna be the old Dynasty. This is gonna be a true groundbreaking kind of team.
Yeah, I think so too. I truly believe so too.
Yeah, because like you said, Dynasty lost a lot of you know strong players, including Marcelo, and and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's a heavy hit. They lost Marcelo. Ooh, that even
Yeah.
stung me. Like you just like that feeling, like when you never thought that was gonna happen, but then when they picked you up, I was like, okay, that now they're starting to get a little better, and like this is gonna be new ground working. So, but I'm glad that they picked you up. I really am glad.
Thank you. I think it's a different identity for the team for sure. It'll probably look like a different style. Marcelo is top tier. That's an arguable top five all time great. You're not going to replace a guy like that, but maybe your team starts to play differently based on other pieces you grab. And I think one thing I bring to the team is that high level ability to play disciplined zone control.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I've played Dynasty a lot. I've only beat them a few times. I've lost far more than I've won against them. But something I always notice with Dynasty is, they're the best in the world at like playing fast when they have to, counterpunch paintball, and like those, stealing points at the end, like Dynasty Magic type things.
Mm-hmm.
But something that they are not the strongest on the stat bar is zone control because if I lost my ones, I never really seemed to have that much of an issue making fills myself. I could still fill out and like continue moving. And I think I'm going to bring to the team. Granted, I'm only going to play one side or the other, but there will be a lot less of that because that's something I pride myself on is when we've killed a wide guy or they play short in the pocket, I'm going to go where I have to and use gun dominance to trap that guy forever and capitalize on that advantage. And maybe that will make other pieces around us, like let's say the Harrison Fries or Danny Schonauers, have more freedom to play creative and move differently without having to worry about threats right out in front of them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's what I was saying earlier, that this is a brand new dynasty because, you know, when I was watching you, because Infamous was my favorite team before the Hurricanes. Infamous was my
Uh,
favorite team. I'm not gonna lie. And I seen your work, and the way you do zone controls, I was like, I wish that Dynasty will do that. Will control more of the zone, because as the sport grows and keeps on going and developing, and these new rules and new layouts, that's the one thing that Dynasty struggles so much with zone control, because they want to be fast, they want to get the point, they want to be like on mercy and all that, but they didn't have no zone controls, and I was like, come on, Dynasty, like, these are like small itty bitty mistakes, and they're gonna turn into huge problems.
mhm.
And
And yet they were still winning tournaments, right? It's crazy. It's like, man, they'll let guys slip out wide and they'll still win that point, that match, that event.
oh yeah,
So you're like, okay, if we factor more of this other component into their game, then who knows? You know what I mean? Sky's the limit.
yeah, especially while these new players, these new top stars are now starting to rise up. I mean, PB Fit winning World Cup, and they were the underdogs, and here they are, won World Cup. Never saw that. Now we got Leverage, who, oh my god, like I'm gonna be real with you. I knew Leverage was gonna be the next pro players because
Oh,
I, they got a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, they got a big challenge on their plates now, but with all these new players, I think like Dynasty needed to, like, okay, y'all been fast paced, you were getting the points and winning points and everything, but now here comes these newcomers. You gotta slow down. You gotta read the field. You gotta control the zones to where that it's now this new dynasty is going to be this have the same style like they were being the four-time World Cup champions, but a new style to where that, okay, we're not going to be as fast paced. We're going to control the zones. We're going to actually be a little bit smarter, just a little bit smarter. And like I said, having you and Mike Bianca is going to actually make that happen, without a doubt.
yeah. Thank you. I think so.
Yeah. So let's get to the point of this. You are now the podcast creator of something that I did not know was going to happen, the Paintball Passport. So, what made you to make a podcast that interviews people who goes international?
Yeah, that's a great question. I never wanted to be a content creator. No shade on anybody who does. That's just not my personality. Like, I'm a chatty, talkative guy, but normally when I travel and I'm a world traveler as well. I'm very in the moment. I snap a couple pictures, nice scenery. I'm not like filming the whole thing or making vlogs or whatever. I just didn't want to really do it. But year after year after year, like literally since before COVID, I kept thinking, man, that'd be a cool idea. Like Kyle Markowski was really the only podcast back there, the Playing On podcast. And I was like, oh, you know what else? Like, it'd be cool if we had someone talk about the niche of like the international pro traveler because that's such an interesting lifestyle. Like in all the world, there's not really too many other things that are that cool, in my opinion. People that get paid to travel to other countries and basically be a mercenary in the sport of paintball. Um, and I think that, pushing paintball is not just about the game. You want to talk about the lifestyle. Like that's what they did with like snowboarding and stuff with ESPN is like kind of have some, half-hour shows that were like following the borders in their off time, having fun and going to hit powder between winter X Games and stuff. And so for all this time, I kept thinking we should have this, and in my head, I just thought that like the Marcellos or Ryans or at the time like Tim Montresor, Greg Sewers, any of those guys who are like literally every week somewhere new. I thought one of them would just do it. I'm like, it's only a matter of time, and they have way more like credibility and notoriety than me, so like their show would just be wicked successful. And year after year, nobody ever made it, and eventually, it came to the point where it was a little over a year ago, and people like Maddie Marshall and Oliver and Marcelo and Ryan, all these guys, um, like a showcase, like a place to talk to the large audience of pretty much all paintball. They were talking like things about what are you doing out there to get back to the sport. Like when you say grow paintball, are you growing paintball or are you just passionate? And if you're not helping us push forward and make this thing big, then you're not helping. And I was like, all right, God damn it. I didn't want to be the podcast guy, but clearly no one's taken this great idea. Even people that I said you should do this, so I'll just do it. And then I started Paintball Passport.
Wow. The funny thing is this is that style, like that mindset was just like me. Because
Really?
oh yeah, if back in 2021 when we were all, coming back from COVID and there was very small little fields still opening and everything, there was not a lot of Louisiana paintball podcasts. Like not at all. Because
Yeah.
we're such a small state. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I make a podcast? And I'm a shy person at first. I'm a shy person when you meet me in person. I'm like keep it to myself and everything. I'm like lurking in the shadows. But I was like, you know what? I've been playing this sport for so many years. Give me the ball. I'm going to try it out. And lo and behold, been doing this since 2022, and
That's cool.
yep, been rocking it.
Yeah, what's funny is I had never heard about this podcast until you reached out to me. And no one told me about it. And there's not like a page that has like a collective list of all the podcasts. So I still randomly find podcasts like each month, another one. Like last month, I found like one that's out of England. I forget what it's called, but like Britain has a big one that normally has a lot of pro guests, and they'll even have people from the States. But yeah, it's interesting because I keep thinking like, oh, there's not enough content out there. There's like, you know, Playing On, Center 50, Coach's Show, a couple, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you messaged me, and I'm like, oh, another podcast. And I went right to Spotify when you messaged me, and I'm like, and I'm just scrolling up, and I'm like, oh my god, this has so many episodes, and there's all those times that I'm waiting another week for the next episode of PTG or something like that, right? I'm like, I could have had this content to listen to in the gym or on the road trip too, and I didn't know about it, and no one told me.
Yeah, see, because the thing about it, you got like PTG and I think In the Pits, and all these other podcasts out there. But what they do that separates from me is that I took the opportunity to, like, you know what, let's give it people, local people. And like, for instance, the Gracie Manny, the little kid who was hit, I think you remember him.
I think so.
He was the 10-year old.
Lightly.
He was a 10-year old kid that got hit on the semi truck. Um, that that everybody was, like, praying for because he was playing. He was a paintball player. Little
Yeah.
sweetest kid of ever time. And he was actually on this podcast on the Paintball Lounge, and you know that's one of my greatest stories, talking to that kid. And he's a really good friend of mine. And watch it. I mean, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep on doing this. I'm gonna keep on showing these local, like, show out there, like people like you and Ryan Greenspan, everybody, that hey, we're Louisiana people. We still play the sports. We love the sports. So
Yeah.
here's our story.
That's
And
cool.
then I also started doing, like, contents, like, me going to play at Woods Ball, Rec Ball. Um, I tried different things, but
That's cool.
yeah,
Well,
I
it's funny because maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but I mean, maybe you inspired a different podcast because you did it for Louisiana, right? Like to just I don't know, to spread awareness and get people that you like out there, right? And you said 2022. Well, since then, I think it was a year and a half or 2 years ago, so definitely after that In the Pits podcast started. And that was kind of like those guys were like, we just want to talk about the Texas community. And most all their guests are Texas players, whether it's pro or D5. So, who knows? You probably have a further reach and a little bit more inspiration to others than you know.
oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, for when the change happened for the Hurricanes, it was actually 2 interviews ago. I interviewed Justin, one of the coaches, the new coaches, and this was his first time being on the podcast. Period. So I gave him. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna give him that push because sooner or later he's gonna be on other podcasts. Now he knows how it feels to be interviewed and what to expect. And I love having that good feeling. I really do, because that's how we change the culture of paintball. It's like we sharing the story and get these younger generation like, hey, this guy's been playing for so many years and now he's doing a podcast and these stories. Now I want to give it a try, and that's the whole point of it, is to grow the sport, but also change the culture to where that people play more.
Amen, brother.
And that's the whole push I want to do. And I can't give all the credit to myself because my girlfriend, oh, Lord have mercy, she,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was this close to not doing it, but she pushed me. She
Oh,
literally,
that's too cool, man. They always say behind every great man is a better woman. So, having a supportive lady is man, maybe one of the best perks you could ever add into your
oh,
life.
believe it or not, she helped me run a tournament. I never run a tournament. I never did. And she was in the pits helping me out and everything. Now the tournament was going for this shiny thing. Was going for this.
That's sweet. Yeah. I
And
love that logo.
yeah, that's um I gotta give some love to her because she helped me out so much, and she never played paintball. She never did. And here she is in the pits, make sure everything's running smoothly. And you know, I can't give all the credit to, you know, myself. She's also my rock star.
She sounds like a keeper, man. Don't mess that up.
I'm a knucklehead. What do you expect?
Yeah, I know. We're just stupid men. We tend to mess things up. So, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You said more started this to promote the community of Louisiana and like talk with players in your own like local culture. So
Hmm.
I was curious, why did you decide to have me on?
Well, because I watch. I've been watching the passports. I've been watching Paintball Passport, and I was like, I really like this energy from you. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a message. Let's see if we can get him two podcasts come together. And it's not my first rodeo doing that. I did in the pits, and like I said, I interviewed Mike Bianca before he began the coach of the show.
Mhm.
But I always liked your energy, like especially when you were talking to Nick Ripple and I think it was Daniel Camp. Man,
Um,
the that I was enjoying the hell of it. I love your energy, man, and the way you talk to people. I mean, come on, it's
Thanks,
it's
brother.
natural. It's just it feels
Appreciate it.
natural, and I
It
love that.
is. It is, and I'll tell you, it is now. But for anybody out there listening, like good energy is something you can practice, and like any other skill, you can get better at it, right? Like I used to not have good energy. I used to be, your classic like New York wankster, alcoholic, deadbeat. Like I was literally a different guy, I swear to God. And over time, I started really like trying to cultivate good energy, and like and realizing the importance of like just putting off positive vibrations and being positive and speaking positive, and also like you can't fake empathy, right? Like you have to really like give a shit. And so like I do have compassion for those guys. Like they're great guys. And part of my podcast is to talk to them to like them even more. Because I'm not just asking about their stories. I'm like getting to know them as people through their answers and perspectives. And so my energy is like I'm curious. I'm always learning and I'm always trying to understand, like get the other side, the other perspective. And after a, 2, 3 hour talk with someone, I get them. Like I might not know all their details or where they went to high school, but now I know them as a person, and my energy is going to come off good because it's like now I'm talking to them like they're my friend and we're homies.
Yeah, and I got that same energy with when I did my last interview, and that was Nick Soviak. Man,
Uh,
that was intense. Like I'm not gonna lie, like that was intense. But it's like totally agree with you 100% that once I get to know someone, even though for like an hour or two, it feels like now I got to know you. Like I actually I consider you as a friend, and I hope
mhm.
you know keep on going like this.
For sure. Yeah, I hope you find me at an event. Let me know when you're coming to any of the NXL events, and hit me up. Sit next to me in the grandstands and we'll shoot the shit and talk about the match.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So how do you? I do want to know this. How do you juggle it, all of it? Like being a podcast, owner, being a pro player, possibly being a dad. I don't know if you're a dad.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not. Oh,
No,
okay.
no. Okay, so that's a great question, and it is not hard. Like, or sorry, it is not easy, and there's no shortcut. There's no simple answer. There's no magic secret or solution here. Like, you literally just have to do it all, even if it's a headache. And I say I'm not very good at it. Like, I'm not good at multitasking. I mean, for little over a decade, all I did was play paintball. Like a lot of it in pro, but even when I was in semi pro, all I did was travel and play paintball. And like, I'd work random little um but mostly what I was doing is like living as a complete minimalist with like as low, if not no bills as possible. Never finance a new car, never buy new sneakers, just none of that. Like live very, very minimally in the cheapest rent possible. And if I made 5, 10 grand a year from doing clinics or getting hired to play in other countries, then I was going to make that work and like do the math and stretch that budget out to last my year, right?
Right.
So that was my life for a bit. And I wasn't putting anything away from my future. I wasn't, really a responsible adult, but it was a hell of a lot of fun and experience filled, right? And then as I started trying to like, you know, having these realizations of like, man, eventually I'm going to be like a 60-year-old guy doing hard labor with nothing but like good memories and stories to tell. Like I need to start thinking about my future.
Mm-hmm.
So then I added in, you know, another thing. I was like, I need to get a career. And 2.5 years ago, I started this career sales job. And at first, I sucked at doing both, like at trying to do a 9 to 5 and paintball, which paintball entails a lot. It's not just the playing on the weekends, but it's going to the gym every day. It's eating right. It's yoga. It's watching matches every day for studying. It's recovery, hot tubs, saunas, all that. It's eating right. And then it's the travel, which takes away from the ability to like work a normal job because you're gone more than 2 weeks vacation a year, right? And so when I first added in just one thing, just work, I sucked. Like I was like, struggling at work for 3, 4 months. And my paintball took a dive a little bit too. I could just tell I was less focused out there because I'm thinking about my job and how to make a better paycheck. Um, but after a bit, like you just tough through it, and then eventually you see both things get better. And then after a year later, I was like, okay, I think I'm at the point where I can add another thing in. And January 1st of next year, I was like, I'm going to start this damn podcast. I said last year I want to do this, but it was too much to do work, paintball, and this. So I added that in. And that was rough for a bit too, like I was only recording like once or twice a week, but I'm like, oh my God, I just got out of work. I have to go to the gym. By the time I get home, it's going to be like 8 o'clock. Then I got to get on and do a podcast. I haven't even cooked dinner yet. Like, I gotta find guests who want to come on at 8 o'clock my time, West Coast. That's like 11 o'clock East Coast, right? So all these new challenges came in of like trying to rearrange my schedule to fit other people's time zones to get guests on. And I won't say I was fully consistent at that. Like if I did even once a week all year, I would have 52 podcasts, right? I think I only have like 36 right now. So um, I'm not very good at podcasting, but all I can say is to do all these different things like exercise, pro paintball, travel, work, podcast, and then still have time for your personal relationships, the seeing people you love and like hanging out and enjoying like the little bit of free time you have. You just have to like be willing to get up early, stay up late, be tired, and even though sometimes it feels like hard work, you just have to stay persistent and do it.
I agree 100%. That's why, like, when I started, it was like I was trying to make episodes every single day when it was about, like, new gear, new this, or news and everything. I was trying to be like Paintball ruined my life, his show, his YouTube, and all thing. But
Yeah.
it was a constant struggling, like you said, work, personal life, getting to play, and everything. And it's hard. It's very, very hard. And that's why I step away from doing all the talk shows, like all the whole, doing episode every single time, and just, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a breather from doing every single episode about the new stuff, new product, and all that, and just do the interviews because I love it. I love doing the interviews, but also I like to make content. Like you would see me playing at different fields, and I don't like the editing part. I hate the editing part. That's a pain in the ass. Like,
It's awful.
oh my god, it's awful. But when it all comes together, I was like, okay, this is worth it. This is worth it. But I could totally agree 100%. You have to grind every single time to make it work. And I believe in you, man. I think you're doing. Now you're on, like I said, you're on Dynasty, and you're doing these episodes for people who travel and everything. I think you're making it work, and I tip my hat to you that you are keeping it balanced so well. Like,
Thanks, man.
I don't think I could.
Balance is something that it was 2.5 years ago when I first moved to Portland that I said it was like my not New Year's resolution, but like my goal to focus on. And it's not a 1 year goal and then you're done, right? It's not like let me lose 10 pounds and then stop eating, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was like I'm gonna continued like find more balance because if all I do is think about the playing paintball, I'm not really gonna have much of a life outside of paintball. So I love paintball. I work. I've never been on a team where another guy on the team outworks me. I'll say that. Never once. Like I if I see a guy that's out X amount of days, I make sure I'm out that another day or two more that month. So it's not like I don't work hard in paintball, but if I don't find other things to be passionate about or start doing, whether it's just for my own personal pleasure and enjoyment or something else to work on as like a life skill, then like I said, eventually I was going to be some washed up 60-year-old pro player. So I've added more balance and I'm trying to, figure out how to do it all and still add in that other little thing that might be better for me. Um, and maybe I'm not terrible at it, but I'm definitely not. So I'm just, I'm staying consistent and persistent. And if I do even mess up, I try to be like a little bit forgiving on myself, not really in paintball or exercise, but in the new things I add each year, like you know, my podcast. If I miss it and it's like, man, I really tried it, but it wasn't my fault, the guest canceled on me and then I had one day and I couldn't find a new fill up guest, like don't beat yourself up about it, you know what I mean? Like that's not my career. It's not really making me any money. It's a passion project that I do because I enjoy it and it's for the love of the sport and it's more for other people to have something to listen to. So although I wanted to give them something every single week, if I mess up, like I just can't beat myself up for it. Whereas if I miss a day of practice or if I lazy out of a hit class, I will beat myself up for it because it's like, no, that's the thing you're trying to be the best in the world at, and that's really the difference. Is like you want to have a lot of things in your life, but you prioritize things right, and whatever's the most important to you that you're trying to be the best at, or it's your income or whatever, you're going to be a little bit more strict on yourself in that, more disciplined. But in the things that you just want to like, I just want to learn it, or it's just for fun. Like, of course, you want to add that into the balance. But if you miss that, there's no reason to beat yourself down because it's not the thing I'm trying to be the best in the world at. So, in a way, I don't have to be as disciplined.
Right. And I agree 100% with that because um, there's so many times that I've actually tried different things when it came to this podcast that I thought, will be good. And some of them were crash and burn. Some guys did not came on the show because stuff happens and you can't let that get to you. Like, you just
Yeah.
brush it off and try it again and try to do something different. Like, for instance, we try to do live gameplay footage. We try to do it live with like kind of like how UXBL and all these and NXL try to do with the whole cameras and everything. We try that and I was having a lot of problems. Wi-Fi was horrible, and it was just like, okay, you know what? Dust it off. Try again next time. Down the road, but you know, I don't beat myself up to it. I know my flaws. I know where I messed up, and I just try not to do it again.
Hmm.
But
That's good.
so how now? Tell me this. Now since we got NXL coming to the Buccaneers Stadium, Raymond Stadium, how do
Oh yeah.
you feel about playing that big stadium? Because it's been a long time since paintball
Long
played
time.
in a big stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I can't remember exactly what year it was that there was at NPPL Tampa. I think it was maybe 2006 or 7 or something like that. And then there was another one at uh, outside the Buffalo Bills Stadium, NPPL Buffalo 2008, which was cool because it was right in my backyard. It was a 10-minute drive to go play the event with my friends. Super cool. I love when they do this, and it's so exciting because, once again, this is not throwing shade, but like kind of if you've been playing paintball nationally for even a few years, you realize like, okay, it's the same couple of events recycling and like PSP or NXL or whatever it may be, Chicago is not actually Chicago. It's like a farm town called Joliet, 45 minutes south. There's not really anything to do. And then when you go to, blah blah blah, it's always like some like small town with like, just like a flat farm or like a soccer field with like not really much to do. So when you find yourself at an event outside of a stadium, it just it hits differently. Like it for the players, it brings back that nostalgia of like the golden era of paintball, which was like, in my opinion, like 2003 to 2007, where you had Huntington Beach, you had Vegas on the Strip, you had stadiums, you had even half horse track stadiums in Boston with like tons of people in the stands watching down on all the fields. And the players feel like they're finally like, we're getting somewhere. Like, man, this is like an actual entertainment event, right? And then for the random bystander, the person who doesn't already know paintball, they not only is it somewhere they can see because they're not going to find you in Joliet, even if you post flyers everywhere, but they will find you at that huge stadium that the major throughway drives by every day. Maybe they see it, and they go, whoa, what the hell is that? That big like fair or trade show? And then when they are there, man, it just looks so much more like official and legit than being like on some like agricultural plot.
Hmm. And but it's just to me, it's like when you're playing at the Raymond Stadium, it's like I feel like to me that this would never happen if it wasn't for Tom Cole having an idea with the whole ESPN Ultra. Um, because now, like, yeah, we had the ESPN, even though in my book it kind of bombed. Well, it kind of bombed a little bit, but they were always looking at paintball, but they were kind of like looking at paintball like, oh, okay, this is just some reels, so let's just put some reels in. This is just like a little side thing, like, oh, okay, it's just there. But now since we're getting a chance to play Raymond Stadium, I feel like that ESPN has like, okay, let's give you a shot. Let's give you a shot, and that's when Raymond saw us, like the whole whoever owns Raymond Stadium saw what we can do, saw that the energy of the crowds and everything, because that's not something that people don't understand, is that this is legitimate people coming to watch us shoot 10 balls, or yeah, 10.5 balls per second at each other, and the roar of the crowds, like, this is something, we got something.
Yeah.
And the roar of the crowd from World Cup of last year of 2024, man, I was like, oh my god,
It's
that
crazy.
that was loud. I wasn't there. I was
Yeah.
watching it on the on my phone, but even if I had my earbuds in and everything, you could still feel the intensity of the roar of the crowd. So that, and I agree 100%. I think this is the golden age. I think we're going back to the golden age where now we're getting big stadiums because of everybody's giving us a chance.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so grateful. Shout out Tom Cole. That guy does more for the sport than anybody knows, and man, I'm very very grateful for that guy and all of his efforts, and everybody else who's behind the scenes making this happen. Because as a kid, I was already playing divisional paintball, but I remember watching those pro games at stadiums and on TV, and then when it all ended, I thought like, damn, who knows if I'll ever get a chance to do that again. So now it comes full circle, and it's like I get to be on a pro team. In fact, the very best team to ever do it, which is kind of fucking crazy still to me in a way. It's, excuse my language, it's a bit psychedelic to be on the team this time around TV, because I remember last time when they had that sweet match against Naughty Dogs on ESPN, and it was history. It's still a move that everyone even
Yeah.
thinks about, right? So to be back in that situation and now at stadiums and on TV, like representing for my sport, means the world to me. It's just it's really fulfilling, and I think that by us being at the sport at the stadium, other maybe like TV producers or shows go, okay, that thing is getting bigger. And then they want to put us on TV, right? And then by being on TV, other stadiums in different cities go, okay, that thing is seeming to be more official. It must generate a lot of money. We should actually like have that conversation with Tom or whoever's reaching out to these emails and take it seriously. So I feel like it is cyclical in that by doing one thing, it helps the other, and that thing generates more of the other, and they'll keep benefiting each other.
Yes, I agree 100%. And like you said, shout out to Tom because he is looking at his phone every single day, emails and everything that he has to do. He has to fly to this. He has to do a podcast. He has to. How old is he? Like in his 50s or so? I don't.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, but older than us, right? And he's
Yeah,
doing a lot,
and
he's a
he's
lot
doing.
of energy.
I'm like, how does he do it? I'm like, dang gum. Like,
It's crazy.
how's this guy? Does this guy ever sleep? Like,
I
does
don't
he?
think so.
Like, does he ever sleep? But I hope I will be re resubscribing to Ghost Force just to watch it, and hopefully that we get to see the match that, in my book, was the greatest match of all time in 2024, and that was the Kings versus the Dynasty, and hopefully
Mm.
we can get that match again someday because uh, I was watching it with my best friend, and man, that was just like in my book, there's not a lot of great matches of all times in my book. There's not. But seeing that match in Las Vegas for the not only because it was my hometown team, but it's just the magic. I was just like I couldn't stop watching it. It was just
Mhm.
so good. But
Oh yeah, dude. And it's cool too because you're from there, so it's like that already was an intense, exciting game with, a momentum shift that you could feel if you were watching it, and then a crazy comeback. That when people thought Dynasty were out, it was crazy. But because you're from Louisiana too, it's like there's more vested emotion behind it, and now you're seeing like your team, kind of like the underdog slash your local hero, fight against like the legendary, and it's just unreal, dude. Like David almost took down Goliath. It was a hell of a match.
it was yeah, it was so good and I was just like, oh the taste of it. But hopefully we do get that match. Hopefully we get that and I would love to see, Mike Bianca and you facing the Hurricanes and be like this. Okay, let's see the master and let's see if the apprentice, which is the Hurricanes, goes against the master, which is Mike Bianca.
Yeah.
Let's see how much they will learn because that's the true test. I mean, I know that Mike can always visit us because he's from Alabama,
Yep.
but that's when we know the true test. Like, okay, let's see if this will really. Let's see how much they learn, and
Agreed.
hopefully the dynasty will come here to Louisiana, LAX, get some.
I would like to.
Yeah, because I would like to meet all of y'all. Like, I know that Ryan Greenspan did some things for Lavina, and I think he did some couple things for Lavina, but not LAX. Drew Bankson makes the best food ever. I'm telling you straight up. Like, you taste one of those foods, you're gonna ask him, "Hey, can you just air deliver them to me?" It's that good. And you can ask Coach
Yeah.
Bianca, like how amazing Drew's food is, and he will be like, "Probably chef's kisses. It's so good."
You're not the first who told me this, and I
Oh, I'm not the
love that
first. Yes.
Southern comfort. The Louisiana home style meals, man, that real Southern comfort, gumbo, Cajun food. I love it. So yeah, I would definitely love to come there and do all that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that you and the other guys come together and say let's go to Louisiana, and I will shoot a message to Mike and say this: Hey, when Dynasty's coming to Louisiana, let me know, let me know, let me know. I'll
We'll
even
do.
take off of work. I will even take off of work just to meet you guys. Swear to God.
If we line it up, I'll shoot you a message. Um,
Please do.
Before you change the topic, I wanted to add one for you. So you had mentioned that was like your favorite match. I wanted to let you know my favorite match because you can YouTube it, and I think you'd really enjoy it. It's intense. My favorite match of all time is 2011 PSP. Man, I forget if it's Galveston or Phoenix, but if you search 2011 PSP Dynasty versus Russian Legion, it's the most intense game ever. Because back then it was like more points and higher ball per second, and you had a stacked dynasty. Like it had all the usual characters, plus like young Alex Goldman coming into his own. And then Russian Legion was like Russian Legion vets, but they still had Fedorov at the time, Mishka. They still had J-Rab on the team, who was like young but becoming elite. So you had these two powerhouse rosters playing each other in longer X-Ball format, and it is crazy. Every single point, you're like, okay, this team won the breakout. I think they're going to win. And then you're like, oh, that was a big move. And just the back and forth momentum is crazy. They made a match. I forget who the filmmaker was. I wish I could give him a credit, but they made the match like into this cool minimalized, like basically like a summary of the game mix video on YouTube. If you search Danny Manhattan, I know that sounds weird. It doesn't sound related to paintball at all. But if you search Danny Manhattan, you'll see a video with like Yosh Rao in the thumbnail in blue jersey. Just watch this video. They put like a really cool soundtrack to it where you can like feel the intensity of the game. And man, there's these crazy speeches in the huddle from Oliver. There's like, guys like bunkering the shit out of each other and puking, and the whole game is crazy. And I won't tell you how it ends, but the last point and then overtime are like the most memorable matches I've ever got to see, because I was sitting there in the sidelines, the bleachers watching. I was like, I can't even believe the level of play that's going on right now. So for anybody listening out there, YouTube, Danny Manhattan, best 5-minute video you'll ever see. I still watch it to this day in the rental car on the way to the field to get like pumped up and get in the mood before I get to my first match.
Hmm. I will look that up. Actually, I will look that up. Shoot. And I will also look up that match because I've never seen that match because I wasn't playing during 2011.
Mhm.
But I will look up that match. I will after this. I will. So this part of the podcast, we are to where that you can ask me any kind of questions whatsoever. Is all hands, like, balls on your court.
Cool. So have you ever traveled outside of the country for paintball?
No, unfortunately, I have not. And while I would love to, the thought has crossed my mind of me going and play at the UK because I've heard so much good things coming from playing at Europe and everything. So
Hmm.
it might be in the books one day to go play for the UK.
Yeah. I mean, you're really close to Mexico too. Like you're a 2-hour flight to play an event in Cancun or something like that. Um, and there's an event coming up in September this year. They're bringing back the Aruba Classic. So, like at the island of Aruba, there's a cool open event that's going to happen this summer.
Ooh, I didn't know that. Hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were bringing that
Um,
back.
well, my next question, just because I like talking about travel, so this would be my topic is,
That's fine.
do you have from like watching videos or mag, do you have like a number one bucket list event you want to attend? It could be anywhere.
Oof. Yeah, yeah. That is a. but, so there is one thing I want to do before I turn 30. Well, it's actually gonna happen after I turn 30. Um, it's to play World Cup one time. I was, I had the chance to play it, but then my knee kind of gave out, so it was kind of like, ugh, can't do it. But now I'm
Mhm.
good. I'm healthy, sort of. But that's one thing I want to do is like play World Cup one time, and then also, like I said, travel to like play in Europe, because I do follow a guy who I think I can't remember. I follow him on TikTok. He plays like like millennials. I think that's what it's called, and it looks so much fun. It looks so much fun to do, and there's not as I don't think Europe is very strict when it comes to their rules than we are. I don't know, but that's a style.
Paintball rules or others?
I don't know if their rules are different than ours at Europe, but what I've seen it so far, it looks like it is different in a way. I do not know, but I would like to give that a try.
Oh, you'd love it, dude. Well, that's great. My last question for you. Oh man, I was blanking because I was
It's
thinking about if I knew Europe teams to set you up with.
okay.
Um, damn it. Hmm. Yeah, in my head, I was like, man, if you say the right event, we can see if we can get you to that event. Um,
It's all
yeah,
good.
honestly, I'm blanking out right now. I guess I could always message you afterwards. It could be just something even I want to hear from you.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, and also shoot me your address too. I'll send you some cool swag after this.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, I will take free stuff. I like free stuff. I mean, shoot.
Oh yeah,
But now, that's what I like to do. I like to travel. I like to play paintball, and I don't care if it's, woods ball or speedball. Doesn't matter. As long as I'm going there having a great time, that's all that matters.
well said.
But I don't think we have any questions from the comments because some people are like, scared, probably.
They're shy.
They're shy.
Oh, I don't bite, guys. You can ask stuff.
But yeah, but I think that still covers everything, my friend. I really appreciate you coming here. I really do.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me on. Oh, you know what? I know another question based off
Sure.
that. Who else do you want to have on? Because I can probably help set it up.
Oh,
Name another, favorite pro or guy you look up to, and I'll call him for you.
dang, that's really tough one. There's a lot of pros that I like that I grew up on. Um, hmm.
Who do you think would be sweet, but you have no way to connect with them? You wouldn't even know how to reach them.
I have to say, um, I think the one person that has not been interviewed in a long time that I would love to get my hands on is Yosh.
Mm, I'll see what I can do. That's a tough one. He's
See,
my teammate. I've been trying to get him on my show, and he is tough because he's one of those naturally just quieter guys. He doesn't look for the limelight. It's not like he's uh, shy or underrated, but he just, you know, I can't even think of a podcast he's done because he doesn't seek out the camera, the fame. So I'll ask him, but man, you named basically like the Charizard, right? Like that's a rare catch. I'm gonna throw a fucking master ball.
yeah, see, I like a good challenge. I like to challenge myself. Every single day, I love challenge myself. That's why I like to message these guys, like, be like, okay, who should I challenge? Because, like I said, talking to you or Nick Soviak and all these guys, it's a challenge for me, and I love it because I love hearing the story, but I love challenge myself to be like, okay, what topics should I say? What, you know, and goes through my head every single time. And you can ask my girlfriend this because she gets sick and tired of it. Like she's like, shut the hell up. But I like to challenge myself every single time, and I'm like, all right, who's the next? Who's next?
Mhm.
But Yosh Ralph is definitely because I already know the story with Ryan Greenspan, um, because I watched the Shay podcast. Shayla, is that his name? Shayla podcast, the photographer.
Oh, Shelda, the Shelda
Shell,
podcast. Yeah,
yes, I've watched.
Dan Shelly. Yeah,
I actually messaged him, seeing if he wants to get on, but I know he's
that'd be
busy.
cool.
Um,
He's busy, but he's a talker. He's a cool guy. You could probably get him.
Hopefully, I mean, but I've seen how he does, and I told him, hey, congratulations, interviewing Mike Bianca and becoming on the podcast, and he's doing great. Um,
Yeah,
and like I always watched so many of Alex Fragy and like I said, Ryan Greenspan and Oliver Lane. I want someone different. Like I like to go out the ones that who has not been doing a podcast in a while, or who
yeah,
hasn't done it at all, and give them that chance. And it's like
yeah,
let's do it.
yeah.
But
Very cool. I like that. Cool.
I think that's all for today, my friend. Thank you for coming on the show again, and hopefully next time I see you, it will be in Louisiana or NXL. If I ever go to the NXL, if I do, I'll say hey and hang out.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate all you listeners out there. Keep supporting your local content creator, and tell your friends, tell your non-paintball friends, spread paintball.
Yes, and also y'all subscribe and follow the Paintball Passport, because great show. He does a remarkable show, and y'all will be shocked of what he talks to with these guys who are traveling or who lives in a different country. It's mind blowing. So I hope I see you next time, my friend.
Thanks.
Later.
Peace.